Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Scene Snob Channel's newest podcast, Married Life, with yours truly, the Scene Snob, Mike Kimball, and my beautiful bride, Mary the Mommy. How you doing, Mary?
Oh, I'm good, babe. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic because I get to sit across from you.
Hmm.
And this is one where it's topics of conversation, just dealing with married questions that married couples should go through. Conversation starters, if you will.
If you will.
And, well, tell us a little bit about yourself and how much you love me.
Well, I am 5'9". I like romantic
Not
walks.
like that.
That's
No,
not.
That's
not what we're doing.
They don't need to know that.
Oh, okay. That's just. But it's a conversation starter. I thought that was where. Okay.
Yeah, if you're single.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Oh, that's my other podcast. That's right. No, I'm only kidding. So I am a loving mother of two. My husband, the Scene Snob, and I have been married going on 4 years now. Either one of us can believe it.
And we have it all figured out.
Yeah, so we're going to share our knowledge with you.
Yeah.
It's funny when in my single life, I have two sisters and both of them have been married much longer than I have. And I always wondered, what do you talk about? Like, how do you fill the time? Because I could never think about things that you would talk about with someone for that long of a period, because I just had never been in a long-term relationship. And I have come to find out that, there are plenty of nights that we still will be up very late talking, and it's natural and conversational and wonderful, but there are other times where we kind of stumble on, filling that time because we have two small children. We're exhausted. We're old as shit. And
we're going there.
Yeah. Oh, we're going there. So sometimes it is good to have little hints or cues to get the conversation going and to learn more about your partner and, to find out what they think about things that you just never would think to ask. So I'm excited about this.
I dig it. And we have some cards. So I'm going to ask the question on the first card. All right.
Are you going to be asking all of the questions?
We can go back and forth. We'll make a conversation.
Okay.
This is the first episode, so anything really goes.
Fair. Okay.
So, at what times are you the most attracted to me?
Oh, that's the whole question?
That's the whole question.
Well,
There's a
all
question
of the
mark at
time.
the end of me,
Well, it
so
looked
I'm
like,
assuming.
you kind of lingered on the
I
last.
did. Because on the cards they have little quotes.
Oh, okay.
And
It
I was
seemed like there was
reading the
more.
quote.
That's fair.
Like the
Okay.
quote on this one is, "Let the wife make the husband glad to come home, and let him make her sorry to see him leave." Martin Luther. And I'm like, is that the Martin Luther that started the Lutheran Church? But I'm not going there.
Well,
Let's stick to the question.
that quote had to have been a little outdated, especially considering our home life. However, but it works for us, and I am jealous of that. But I don't know. I would say the times that I'm most attractive to you, obviously, are when you're doing the dishes or any sort of cleaning around the house. And I think any wife can attest the same thing about her own husband. But I do have to say, outside of that semi-jokingly answer, it's really when you're talking about something that you're passionate about, especially about movies, specifically horror movies, but really any movie, and or how you interact with our kids. They're difficult, but just and how they bring about a change in both of us, and how we just love them. That's
yeah, they're magnificent. I mean, they're just fantastic kids.
They have their moments.
But that's the thing. Like, yes, they are difficult. You cannot take that away from them. But it's almost like even more than that. It's just that they're challenging. But it's such a good challenge to have.
Agree. Yeah.
And I really, like, for me, when it comes to like watching even our youngest, little Jack, growing up, he is the most challenging. And he's got my temper.
He has a lot of you in him. And the funny thing is that every time you recognize and admit that, it's like a light bulb goes off on your head and you're like, oh my gosh, I do that. That's what I do. But what you don't realize is the second part of that is that you only have to still deal with one of those. Now I get to deal with two of them.
It's fair. That is true.
But that's both the good and the bad. So
It's just that we're
not bad,
opinionated.
but challenging. Yeah.
But to go back to the topic on hand, the question, I do
Yes.
like where it was going, but I wanted to be more marriage centric than children centric
Fair.
in this question because it's about tracking.
But I will say, I said it as a joke, but the times that I'm most attracted to you are, you can't get that mad at me because people are listening. But it's when you're doing housework or things that I normally do, because it shows me that you are thinking of me and you want to make my life easier.
Mhm.
And by you doing this, it will allow us to have more time together instead of me running around trying to get all of this stuff done.
And almost like eliminates that that feeling on your end. I'm guessing of that there's an expectation that you have to do this.
Correct. And that there are roles that we have to play. Like, I always do this, and you will always do that. Like, the fact that we can interchange those things, I think will prove itself in longevity, because it gets old, like, having to always do the one thing. And, if I'm tired, but this has to be done, or vice versa, it is nice to have that partnership, to know that the other person will pick up that slack. I read somewhere that marriage or relationships is 50-50, but I disagree with that. I think it should always be 100-100. Like, you should always be giving 100% to the other person. It shouldn't be, well, they did this, so I'll do this, but if they don't give me this amount, then I'm going to slack off too. Like, that's
Again, but that
bullshit,
comes back
but-
to expectations,
Right.
because I'll do this if he does this, or I'll do this if she does this. You're expecting this to be done, and that may not be what is going to get done at that moment, because first of all, you can't automatically read your mind for expectations, nor you me, my mind. So it definitely makes sense that, like, cutting it out and just doing 100%, it's almost like respect the household.
right.
Yeah. Respect the household, not just each other, but respect the household. This is where you live. I can just as easily pick up the laundry that's on the floor than expect you to do it.
Right.
Or you can just as easily throw in a load of laundry, just using laundry, or
Sure.
you can do the dishes
Right.
if you see them first.
Insert chore
than-
here.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's just give and take, and then we do that, and that's how we make each other happy until the kids are old enough and we make them do everything.
Right. Right. It's just counting down the days for that. Oh my god.
So it is an attractive quality that I don't think anybody who is single can appreciate.
Right.
Because I know, and the reason I say that is because people who are single don't look for those qualities, of course. They don't know those qualities. I didn't know those qualities when we were dating,
Right.
and no girlfriends or anything like that. Like, I never expected a girlfriend to do my laundry.
Right. But I did your laundry when we first met. So.
You did. So there you go, direct equality right there. We were pretty much living together after the first date. Like, it was a very fast
Yeah,
relationship.
that it was.
But
when
you know, you know.
you know.
Yeah.
And it's
Um,
never easy. Even though we knew early on, it still is a struggle, and it's a choice to make it work.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, no matter how green the grass seems on the other side, there still is baggage, and there still are challenges, and there still is going to be those days where you just had enough with the other person, and you want to smother them, but you would miss them so much, so you can't kill them.
Yeah.
I mean, I still firmly believe that it's true. It's never going to be easy, no matter who the other person is, no matter what they do, how much money they have, what chores they do around the house. It still will have the pros and cons, and it's choosing to make it work and to work through it with the person that
Yeah.
you are with.
and eliminate expectations,
Mm-hmm.
I think. But do you remember that first fight in the old townhouse? when we were dating. Our first fight.
With the Facebook comment? Or was
No, that was good. That wasn't a fight.
Yeah, that was the fight.
You
No, I
you
don't
were
remember.
annoyed with me,
No,
and you went to bed.
Right, that's true.
And I was annoyed too because I was like, I'm not getting my way. And then I posted on Facebook some stupid garbage post, and I heard your feet hit the ground, and I'm like, oh no. And then you were at the top of the stairs, was like, do not put our life on Facebook, and I never have since.
Yep. And it wasn't actually even specific to what happened. It was a very generalized.
It was so passive
emo,
aggressive.
Passive aggressive. No, like Mary did this or whatever, and I still was like, nope. Because, and not to say that I didn't used to do that too, or I had never done that, but because I knew that you were the person, like that you were it for me, I was like, we're not going to do this because nothing good will come of this. And all it will do is make other people a part of our relationship, which nobody else is in our relationship but us.
Which is ironic considering we are both in social media.
Yeah, it is very fun.
But no, our first argument, we were in the kitchen and of the townhouse, and I don't even remember what it was about, but I remember that it was kind of like honeymoon's over,
No.
and we started fighting, and it was just kind of like, at the end of it, we're like, well, what do we do now? Do I just go home?
I do remember.
You know, I've been here for like 3 months. Do I just go home? Because you remember, I signed the lease on my new
Right.
apartment area in the house I was living in,
Right.
and
So you still technically had your own place.
I had my own place, and I signed it like 3 days before I met you, and I spent a total of 12 days in that, spent 12 nights in that place.
Right.
But
No, because at the beginning, I mean, so
and
we
it was
met.
pretty fast.
No, I know, but between the night we met and our first date was 2 weeks. Because I still
didn't
was
say
on,
I spent the night there. I went to the bars a lot. No, you're right. Okay, so maybe I meant since we started dating though.
since
Was
we
it 2 weeks? I don't think it was 2 weeks. It was a week and a half.
before, remember, because we had the mini meeting at Starbucks, which was before the 2
Our,
weeks.
our
but
official,
because
our first unofficial first date.
our unofficial official first date.
Yeah.
Yes. Because remember because Tommy would go with his dad every other weekend, and I never went out or got a babysitter out, and I would only go out during the times that he was with his dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
that's neither here nor there. But I did not spend a lot of time in that.
not a
apartment.
lot of time.
You know, we went pretty fast, pretty quick.
Yeah, we did.
And
We were married within a year.
hiding from Tommy.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
he did not know I existed for
No.
like the first 2 months.
Yeah.
But no, going back to the first argument, I think it was like we started dating in November,
Yeah.
and it was like January.
Yeah.
And if you remember, we were fighting about something in the kitchen.
Yeah.
We
I
were
do
like
remember that.
yelling at each other, and we were not used to yelling at each other because it was honeymoon.
Right.
And it was like, wow, honeymoon's over. And I think the next morning is when we woke up, and I inadvertently told you I loved you.
That was so. Listen, Mary, I am really hard to break, and I'm not going to tell you that I love you for a really long time. So I just want to set your expectation, and I just want to tell you that even though I might be feeling it, 2 days later, I love you.
No, that's not how I said it.
It kind of is.
I think it was I love. Like I
it
said
was-
it like, and it was such a knee jerk. Like it
No.
was just a normal reaction.
Because we were being silly, like playing around with each other, and not playing around with each other, you know, but like playfully fighting, and we both did that like, and you went, I love you.
And I realized I said it. Yeah.
But legit, all of the color, like left your face, and I was just like, aha, you love me, aha.
yeah. That was your first reaction.
That was my first. Yeah, it really was. I'm pretty sure I pointed while I was laughing at you too.
And those are the little things that still to this day are attractive to me, because I know, like it isn't so much. I think it's just a man and woman thing. Like, it isn't the work you put in the house. Yes, it is, and how much you put into like your job, how much you put into the kids and everything. Of course, that's attractive. That's always an attractive quality. But it's who you are just as a person.
Yeah.
You are very pleasant,
Oh.
even when you're not.
Oh.
You know, like, I'll be mad at you.
Now I have that on tape.
I can delete this. No, but I'll be mad at you. And I'm like, no, screw this. And like saying to myself, no, forget this. And then I'm just like, and I look over and it's just like kind of fades away. And that's not being cutesy. That's just it. That sucks. I want to be mad. So like it sucks like when you want to be mad, you're like, you're like, all right, I won't be that mad. Like, and then you start planning out how long you're going to allow yourself to be
Right.
mad. Like, I'll just take a week, you know? And there are times like we'll blow up and it's just like, you know what? Being single's easier. And then you're just like, look at you, like, quick glance and you're just like, all right, like 2 days.
Fine.
2 days, I'm just going to be passive aggressive. And that's it.
And then an hour later.
An hour later, let's talk about this.
Fine.
Get over this.
Fine.
So how would you like to hit up another question?
Sure.
What is your greatest source of stress right now? How can I support and encourage you? And the quote that's on here is, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. Wow. So they are throwing out Christ in this one.
That was the second question.
And
Jesus.
as faithful of people we are
True.
not religious people.
Correct.
Which is not a put down on anybody who is religious.
No, not
That's
at
just
all.
not who we are.
Right. And I think, and that's also not to say that we will never be religious in the
12
future.
years of Catholic school, I'm pretty sure. I'm out on religion, but I'm not out on God. Love the guy, he's great.
Well,
Makes a hell of a
this took
landscape.
quite the left turn, but
No,
but I'm just saying, I still believe that you can never say I'm out on
Never
this,
say never,
because
absolutely.
you don't know. And I do feel a calling sometimes to go back, and the sense of community and camaraderie that the church brings. It's just for other reasons, and that was not the question. So
Sunday is football day, babe.
okay,
So,
they have
No.
mass on Saturday night. Thank you very much.
yeah, you're talking to a guy whose dad is a deacon. I know.
I realize that.
12-year sentence in a Catholic school. I get it.
So my biggest source of stress right now, honestly, with everything that both of us juggle, I think the biggest source of stress that I have is helping, not even helping, but trying to balance the fact that I always chose to do the chores. Like I made the joke earlier about that I did do your laundry when we first met. So we had a townhouse. It was small. I love cleaning. I truly do. There's a sense of accomplishment at the end, and just I have very bad anxiety. So having if everything's in its place, I feel like I can deal with other things because I don't live in a world of chaos in my environment. But letting go of that and balancing the expectation of you doing, the housework now and contributing to that more, it is really stressful. And it's really stressful to not still try to do everything to maintain a level of acceptance because quote unquote you don't do it right, which isn't that you don't do it right, you just do it a different way. And there's no saying that, when we first started dating and you did the laundry, I would refold the laundry that you folded.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you did, but now I don't do that anymore.
It
Because
wasn't even dating. You were doing before I became a stay-at-home dad.
No, but that's what I mean. While we were
But you would
living-
mostly do the cleaning and cooking because when I was working, I was
Correct.
crazy long hours.
Correct.
And so you did most of the housework. And when I would do it, like especially towels, I remember towels was the big one with you. You
Towels.
hated the way I
Yeah,
folded
I
towels.
hate the way you fold towels.
Which
Especially
was
when
funny
you
to
put them
me.
away because you just shove them in there. Like you spend all this time folding them and then you just shove them in the closet.
Which was funny to me because yes, I just kept shoving and folding my towels, and I never understood. I'm always like, so what? Why is my way wrong? Who cares? They're fine, and you'd always refold them. But then we moved into the new house, and I started folding them your way, and you're like, no, they work better this way, and it was my old way.
Yep. And I acknowledge that. So
No, you did acknowledge it, but at the same time, I think that's like the frustrating part, like when it comes to marriage and communication on that, is like, especially I guess maybe for a man who's stubborn as I am, and I admit it, and has a temperament of like, oh, what the fuck, like, it's almost like, what are you doing? Are you doing this to mess with me? Or like, like, it's always like, what is this? Like, now I'm finally taking over this.
Because we had a different linen closet, and they fit differently in this linen closet than they did in the other one. And it was a sense of, now that you are a stay-at-home parent, and the doer of all the chores, I was trying to give you a sense of control and not being like, it's going to be my way.
And I think that dynamic helps, because you did say that. You're like, it is your way. You're doing it. If you're taking it over, it is your, and that I think was a good.
The only thing I asked is to
feeling.
Rotate, because there's nothing worse than the smell.
And I
of
did,
stale.
yes, I get that.
Yeah.
Rotate clothes, which I would have never thought of.
Yeah.
I never cared.
Yeah.
You'd shove them back in the drawer.
Yeah.
Before you, most of the time they weren't even folded.
Right. Fair.
They just were, whatever,
Yeah.
clothes in there. But I think like when you said that, and it was like, okay, but I'm doing it. Like I'm doing this. Like, so they're not just getting shoved in there. They're actually being rotated. They're being folded. And then you were like, okay, it's your way. I'm not going to mess with it. I'll accept it. And you didn't. You stopped folding the towels and other things like that. All those little things. So that's just an example of little things that you kind of let go. And I think that's important when you're married.
Yeah.
You have to let those little things go.
Right.
So especially if the other person's doing the effort.
Right. But the other person has to be, like, it can't, so you're famous for, I will go to do something, and you're like, no, babe, let me do it, I'll do it. And I'll be like, okay, it goes one or two ways. I will either say, okay, I will leave it alone and wait for you to do it, and then 3 days later, it's still, or I will say, no, I'm just going to do it, and then you huff and puff because I don't want to wait for the Mike Kimball timeline for the thing to get done.
Well,
And that
I think-
is probably the one thing, because you've seen me when I get on this like cleaning spree. I'm business. It's like I'm gonna do this, and this, and like in my head, it's a process. So like I can't sweep and mop until the things on the counter are done. So if you're gonna, if I'm going to do this right now, there's a reason I'm gonna do this right now. So if you offer to do it, I hate to say it, but I expect it to be done right now because I need it in my frantic head to be done like within a certain timeline. And that is a really big struggle that we have.
Well, I think that's it's like almost, and I don't want to put it, but it's almost like wound so tight versus let loose. And we are in both different ways.
Correct.
Like I'm wound tight on much different ways, whereas you're very loose about it. And a lot of that is parenting. Like from your parenting style, you're a lot more loose. Like, all right, let's take patience. I'm like, no, they need to grow up positive members of society and need to learn this now and blah blah blah, and like, or we're ruining them. And it's like it's a marathon, not a sprint. So slow down. And like versus that when it comes to like where I am. More loose and you're wound tighter is like, yes, you want to get these things done, but I am starting to realize, like especially when it comes to the cleaning and things like that and other chores, I get it now. You come home from work, you want to come home to a clean house.
Yeah. And it is mostly because of my anxiety and my stress, because when I see it makes me feel like everything is in chaos.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to sit down and relax with you, or to have quiet time, or because I'm like, no, look at all this stuff that, is dirty and out of place. And
Which is funny because my anxiety on that side of things is, well, you don't think I'm doing good enough, and it's like, it's not that. You're not saying that, I think. No, but for the most part, like, but like if it's a crazy day, if Jack is crazy, if Tom's crazy, or there's other things going on, I don't get to it. It's like, I will get to it, just trust me. I'll get there. Like, we have that party coming up. and you want me to dust those chairs. And to me, that is a job I can do the day of.
But we're going to be doing other things the day of, is the thing. Like, you know, there's going to be, like, we have to do all the food and all the actual cleaning of the house, put up the decorations that we're saving for
That's fair.
Saturday.
Yeah.
So, like, in my head, if we can get, I mean, I wiped out the microwave. Nobody's probably even going to use the microwave. Like, wipe out the fridge, because those are the things that we can do now that won't be, you know, I cleaned out the junk drawer. Like, things that will make our life easier then, so that we can focus on, like, the last minute things that should be done that day.
But I guess, like, when it comes to marriage and this sort of, like, this difference of opinion, I guess, is it difference of opinion, or is it more of a just a
It's a
it's a
different
way, a
people.
way of thinking?
I mean,
like
it's just
you know, it's our
being two
lifestyles
different
and how we
people.
are.
Yeah.
So something like that, like, I think we need to. I think you just need to let it go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I knew
See,
that
I
wasn't
will-
gonna fly.
No.
All right, I'll dust off the chairs. But, well, that does. Was that the attraction? No, it was a stress question. How to support you and encourage you.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
just-
the stressful thing. Is the house.
Yeah. Because everything else I
You
feel
have a
like,
stressful job, so
yeah, I know, but while I'm at work, you know, I'm at work, and
you
like
don't want to focus on it.
that's, and so like I'm not thinking about anything at home because my mind is on work, and so, and I want to be able to come home because I also have a very long commute. I mean, normally I leave the house before 5 a.m. and I still don't get home until after 6 p.m. And it's, you know, like there was one day it took 3.5 hours to come home. So like after working a very stressful job, having a very long commute, which part of it still is working, monitoring, you know, social media and acting on certain things that come up, you know, to come home and still feel like because honestly it feels like there's an unspoken expectation that I still am the one, because when we both were working, because you mentioned earlier that when you were working, you know, you relied on me or I just did all of the housework, but we both were working. Like I didn't stay home at that time. So now that I am working and you do stay home, I still feel like the expectation is, well, Mary will do it. And so when it's not done, because I would always try to get those things done before you got home, to have you come home, you know, to things.
Yeah, I remember.
And so in my head, and like you've said before, like you like to do things later at night, but then that compromises the time that we have together. You know what I mean? So I'm like, well, you said you want to watch a movie or you want to spend time together, but if you are waiting to do all these chores until at night, like what's it going to be? Because you will choose, because I'm now home, to spend that time with me, and then that will get left until the morning, and I will lose sleep thinking about how messy the house is, because that's just how my mind works. And I think I've gotten better at certain things, like letting certain things go, and
Yeah, I mean,
and not.
I think it's unrealistic expectations versus realistic expectations in this situation, and a clean house is not an unrealistic expectation. But I am still in the growing pains of being a stay-at-home dad, and this is a world that is completely different to me. You didn't do this. This isn't what men do. So, doing something like this, and my source of stress is, am I doing it right? Am I doing right by the kids? Am I doing right by you? Am I doing right by the house? And it eats away at you. And things do fall through the cracks, I'm finding. But I find with every time something falls through the crack, it gets fixed later. Like, you find a resolution to that problem later. So like, if this time frame of like, okay, we're going to the park, and then we're gonna come home, and then it's gonna be snack time, and then he doesn't take naps, so it's playtime down in the playroom, or whatever, you know, it's like, what can I fit in those times? Okay, so if it's snack time, do the dishes, you know, rather than having let them go because I'm in nap room. And then if it's playtime, do some laundry,
Right.
you know, things like that. Like, where in the house am I going to be?
Right.
You know, take
And
most
it's
of the-
incorporating them too. I mean,
Yeah.
like I used to tell wasn't really helping. But you know, like I used to let Jack quote unquote organize the Tupperware in the old house while I did the dishes because we didn't have a playroom necessarily, and he was too little to go anywhere else. So, and it's having them see you do that.
No.
You know.
But like it also, it's almost like you can Miyagi your own way through teaching them too.
Yeah.
So like with right foot, left foot, when I was teaching Jack that, when I'm putting socks away, right foot, left foot, and I'd roll them up, and you know, or something like that, or whatever. It's like count, oh, how many are here, or something like that. If he's following me around, it helps.
Yeah.
And I think like if he's in the kitchen while I'm doing dishes, it's like, okay, what word did this spell? And I'll spell it out with the magnets,
Right.
and then go do it. And,
Yeah.
you know.
It's funny though, because it actually is a little surprising. Because you're right, like it is still growing pains, but because like it's abnormal in society for the man to stay home and the woman to work, even though it's becoming more normalized. I think I'm a little surprised because certain people challenge you or rag on you or poke you about it, that you are not more like, well, fuck you, watch how spick and span this house is going to be, and watch how, you know what I mean? So like that part of it actually really did surprise me, because if someone challenges you, you're like tenfold, you are going to exceed, you know what I mean? So like,
But I think it's because of the stigmas. Again, remember, the stigmas for men and boys and stuff like that are so much different for women. And in this situation of like of home care, child care, I mean, it's just becoming more of a thing, stay-at-home dads, with the stigma. You know, I have met stay-at-home moms who do the exact things I do, but then they hear I'm a stay-at-home dad, and they're like, really? Like,
right, why?
and it's like, you're doing the job. You know the job. Why can't you just respect the guy for doing the
Right.
job? You know, and even for myself, when we started this, it was like, I don't know about this. I don't know if I can do
Oh,
this. I
yeah.
can't not work, and blah, blah, blah. And so, coming into it, like, I get what you're saying. Is like, I do take challenges, and like, you're gonna challenge me, fine. I'm gonna win. You know, but I think when people say things, it's almost like, well, is it still bad? You know, like even my parents don't understand it at all.
Right.
But they're so old school in their way of thinking. It's like, I was trained that way too. And you are. You're just trained that way. But like, I realized to myself, I'm like, I have 2 boys. And I don't want them to be trained this way.
Right.
So I can't look at it as a bad thing.
Right.
So I think being the father of 2 boys, you know, having an amazing stepson like Tommy, and Jack, it's, you know, who is just like, I see more and more of myself in him every day. I'm like, who do I want them to grow to be?
Right.
Do I want them to have these preconceived notions and believe these stigmas and stereotypes that I believe because I was trained that way? You know, a man should do this, a woman should do this, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want them to have that. So that's why it's like, I got to take on that role.
Right.
So, but my source of stress and how you can encourage and support me is take your clothes out. Like if you wear 3 shirts, don't leave them all together. And that is how laundry gets done. I spend most of my time just going through pockets and now, wow, that's a stereotype. Stepmoms, or not stepmoms, stay-at-home moms always talk about.
To clean out your pockets.
Clean
before
out
you
your
put-
pockets and stuff like
How
that.
many times did I tell you that before you started doing the laundry?
Alright, that's funny.
Okay.
Let's go to a new question.
Especially with the work that you did, because you used to carry around little notes in your pocket on little scraps, pieces of paper when you would walk around the data center, and they would then be in the filter of the dryer because you wouldn't take them out.
That's
Just-
fair.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, they were always everywhere.
so.
Yeah,
But
it's funny how
I
they
don't
say-
ever have stuff in my pockets because I don't use my pockets because most women's clothes don't have pockets.
I know. It's not that it's kids'
Although
pockets.
our 2-year-olds, when they were 2-year-old, have pockets because they have a ton of stuff to carry around. So it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so
So the king of segue is going to segue to a new question because I read this and I was like, I kind of dig this question.
Okay.
And I want to
Do
know what
one
you
more.
think.
Okay.
Yeah, one more is good.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap up from there. Whose marriage do you most admire? What elements of their relationship would you like to see in ours? And the quote is, "Happy is the man who finds a true friend, and far happier is he who finds a true friend in his wife." Franz Schubert.
I would like you to answer this one first, because I need some time to think about
Whose
this.
marriage do I most admire?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it changes.
Yeah.
I think, like, I always admired my parents' marriage because they always went through a lot of, I don't want to say turmoil, but adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, families did not bond, did not get along. They still went about it. He had 2 children from a previous marriage. Then they had us, me and my sister, and making it all work. And like being dirt poor and making it work, you know? And I always found like as much as for all the bad times they had, they made it work and they found a way to laugh. And I always liked that. I always liked that they always found a way to laugh.
Yeah.
They had a sense of humor, they still do. So I always looked at theirs. But then I also, like, you span out and you see friends, you see other, you know, families, things like that. Like, I always admire my grandparents on my mother's side, their marriage too, because it was very similar to how my parents were. And the adversity they went through being poor
Mm-hmm.
and having 7 kids,
Right.
you know, and just how they always looked for the good times. They always looked for the laugh.
Right.
And I always thought that was important. It was like, there's nothing so bad that you can't laugh about. But having been married now, and looking, you kind of get that view of like everybody's marriage. You know, like what works, what doesn't work. What did they do differently? Your parents, for one, I appreciate their marriage a lot more. Not appreciate it a lot more. I appreciate what I've discovered of their marriage and the hard times they've gone through,
Yeah.
you know, and what they've had to, you know, overcome and achieve, and where they're at now, and successes that they have, and things like that. I think that, you know, that's one I admire a lot, especially now, and seeing them more and more together now that we live closer and we see them
Right.
more and more. Oh, excuse me. Had to yawn. Ooh.
Boring stuff.
It's no, it's not boring. I just keep
No.
talking.
Yeah.
So those are some marriages I admire.
Well, does it have to be
It doesn't have
real
to.
life, or can it be?
No, it could be celebrity or whatever. I don't have that. I'm not
Yeah.
thinking about celebrity marriages.
Right.
You know, I don't know enough about
No,
like
I'm having a
celebrity
hard
marriages.
time. I'm having a hard time thinking about this because to me every marriage is different. You know, like different circumstances. I have friends who are married that don't have kids. I have, you know, more of my friends who are married do have kids. You know, some of them have, you know, naturally born children. Some of them have, you know, adoptions or IVF or, you know, other ways. But I don't know. I mean, I think, you know, there are things from every person who I know who is married that you can take away from it. You know, but it's hard because, you know, I think this question is hard because you still only see what people want you to see of their marriage. You know, you don't see the behind closed doors interactions or discussions or, you know, it's almost like Facebook life versus real life. You know, you only put forth what you want, you know, this picture that you want painted of how the relationship is, and whether it's, I mean, I'm even trying to rack my brain for you know, pretend marriages, you know, movies or TV shows, but you know, I think one that did come to mind was from that '70s show, you know, Red and
Kitty.
Kitty.
Yeah.
You know, they were very, I mean, it was a very traditional marriage where she stayed home, you know, or she was a nurse, right?
Yeah.
And he, you know, was a manual laborer. As you can see,
Well, if you went on that show, yeah, he was a warehouse worker, but in the
Warehouse.
show he lost his job, so she went to work and he became stay.
right. Oh, okay. See, I don't have, like, I caught that show, but I didn't watch it, like, every single week in consecutive order. So, like, I don't really know the full storyline. But, like, what I always remember is that, you know, he was, you know, stubborn and abrasive and rough, and unless it was with her. With her, he was like, you know, for you, whether I moan and groan, I will do it on your, you know, for you, on your timeline, the way you want it done, because I love you. And to me, I think in any I mean, with the exception of doing things, you know, illegal or that the other person truly, you know, I wouldn't force you to do something. Like, I don't really force you to watch romantic comedies.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, like, I'm not going to say this is do or die. You have to do this for me. But, you know, I think there is something to say about just, you know, even if you don't want to do it, even if, you know, you're tired or exhausted or you don't want to do the thing, if you're doing it to make that person happy, I think that's what, you know, that is the true meaning of a happy marriage and a happy relationship, because it's not always going to be what you want to do. You know, if you are going to have this partnership, there has to be some sort of give and take of, okay, you know, it's the for me it was, the old joke was always, well, I don't want to go to the opera, you know, but the girl wants to go to the opera. You always see that scene in a lot of movies, and it's like, you know, and you can substitute opera for anything, you know,
Mhm.
but it's and then it goes to White Men Can't Jump, where she's like, I don't want you to get me a glass of water, I want you to want to get me a glass of water, or whatever that famous
That argument that drives men up a wall.
right. But it also drives women up the wall, because it's because we don't want to have to tell you.
You want providers, which dates back to the early men.
But it
and
doesn't
women.
have to be monetary. It doesn't have
No,
to
but that's
be,
what I mean. But it's still
Correct.
providing a glass of water. It's still providing something. It's showing. It's showing
showing.
is what it comes down to.
Yep.
It's showing
I'd
that
say showing more than
I
providing.
care. I think
Correct.
about you.
I think about you, and I want to do this so you don't have to. I want to do it because it will ease your burden. It's like that last question. You know, what can you do to carry the load? It's like that is what women want. You know, we don't necessarily want you to be a mind reader, but after a certain time, you know, our routines and our expectations. You know,
Yeah, I mean, like,
So,
I
like,
know
you
what you're gonna
can-
want when you come home, or
Correct.
what you're gonna be in the mood for, like,
or what
whether it's
I'm going to be
food or-
mad at. Too.
or what you're gonna be mad at.
Correct. But you
And-
still will just be like, she's gonna be
But
gonna
it
be
comes-
mad at that. But sometimes you still won't do it out of whatever your reasoning is, which is justifiable for you. But that's what that argument is. I don't want you to want to have the dishes done when I get home. Like, I want you to want to do that because that will make me happy.
I think that comes
So-
back to what I was talking about earlier with respecting the home.
Right.
You know, if you respect the home that you live in, you're also respecting the home that your partner, you know, lives in and that you both run. But to go back to your point, like you said, with admiring and stuff, I think it comes down to it comes down to wanting to make the person smile for me.
Right.
So all those relationships I mentioned, it was like they always found the laugh.
Right.
It was like they want to see each other smile, no matter what hardships they went through, whether the fights, things like that. It was like, I want this person to smile. I love this person, and they should be smiling,
Right.
and I want to provide that. And I think, like, to me, that's like what drives a marriage to be successful, in my opinion. So, with that being said, you know, you seem to agree, and I'm sure you're tired. I can see it on your face. I think we did pretty good.
Yeah,
We
this was
talked
fun.
45 minutes, and
That's not bad.
you know, we answered some good questions.
Yeah, I like this.
I will say this in terms of that, last question. I've never really admired people who come off too. I've married people who come off too perfect.
Right.
Like,
I agree.
like you said, I was just about to end this, but I want to make this
No,
point.
yeah.
You had said, when you were on your thoughts on it, that you never really know,
Mhm.
and I agree to that to an extent. I feel like you can read people.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
like if we were talking about celebrities, like when you were talking about celebrity married couples, I'm like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. They have such public marriage. Yeah, you don't know what happens on the inside, but the way they treat each other is so personal. The jokes he tells about her, and he knows he's getting laughed, but he knows he's going to make her laugh more,
Right.
and she joins in on it. He wouldn't do that to hurt her. He'd only do it to make sure she's laughing. And like the perfect couples, those perfect marriages, like where people put on like, no, marriage is great and everything. It's like we know it's not.
Right.
We know it's not great. We know when we fight,
Right.
and you fight, and everybody fights. So if everything has to be prim, proper, and perfect, you're hiding something
Right.
from
Or
maybe
you're
from
not
yourself.
gonna- right. Exactly.
That's what I mean, like from
Right.
yourself maybe, or from your partner or something, an unhappiness or something like that. So I think like the blemishes on a marriage are like the most beautiful thing because it just means that through the tough,
Right.
it shows through, but you're still
Yeah.
willing to fight for it.
Yep.
And make it work and find the laughter in it all.
Right.
And maybe when the laughter's gone, that's when you see marriages that don't work,
Right.
which is okay too.
Yeah.
For some people, but you got to exhaust all options, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I had fun.
I
It
did
was
too.
a good conversation.
Yeah.
For first podcast, we'll see how it goes to go to a second one.
Yeah.
Maybe my next wife will join me.
Maybe.
Sister wives. Still won't know.
No.
Okay.
Maybe.
It depends on who it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it depends on how much housework she'll do.
Probably better than me. But
Can I have another wife or husband?
you have another
Why
wife.
is it well that'll be the first question on the second podcast is
There you go.
who
We'll
wins
say-
this argument?
We'll save it for then. But so this is Married Life with the Scene Snob and Mary the Mommy. You can follow me at the Scene Snob on Twitter, Facebook, and on Instagram. And you can follow Mary the Mommy on Twitter.
On Twitter at Straight Outta Nap Time. That is at STR 8 OUTTANAPTY, or you can just
Just
search Mary the
type in
Mommy.
Mary the Mommy. Let's
But
let's
see,
go
the
with that
Straight
one.
Outta Nap Time thing, like I was
But they'll
totally
see it when they
digging
get
it.
there.
Yeah, I know, but now that I'm like trying to spell it out, like I even lost myself. on that.
Mary the Mommy.
Mary the
If you
Mommy.
type it in, you'll see it.
Or just follow the Scene Snob, and you can find me here. So
There you go. She has some good insights on her Twitter, so check it out. So until next time, I am Mike,
I am Mary.
and good luck in marriage.
Yeah.
That made you laugh.